If you've ever worked in sales or business development in an advertising agency before, you must have heard this statement from a lot of brands and businesses. We have tried agencies before. This statement would usually come up, very early on in the conversation when you're trying to sell to the client, and it is said with a long pause and a very deep sign. And when it is said, the statement is packed with, frustration, caution, and it sounds very defensive. But here's the truth. When a business or a brand tells you that they've worked with agencies in the past and are not willing to give it another chance, it's not because they hate or despise agencies. It's because somewhere along the way something went wrong and they do not want to repeat the same mistake. During the course of this video, I want to unpack what this statement really means and how you can tell the difference between a brand that has been burned and one that is ready for growth. Let's start from what this statement doesn't mean. It doesn't mean that the agency wasn't competent. It also doesn't mean that the brand did not invest enough. And it definitely doesn't mean that marketing doesn't work. What it means is that expectations were never aligned. The brand expected outcomes in terms of revenue growth and increase in numbers generally, but the agency delivered activities. During the course of engagement, campaigns were run, meetings were held, reports were sent, but no one could actually answer the question, how is this growing the business? How is this generating revenue for the business? When you listen closely to the client or to the business, you would understand that this statement usually hides three frustrations. And the first one usually is that there was no real definition of what success would look like. Yes, KPIs were set, but there was no clarity on how these KPIs would impact the business. No straight line was drawn as to how this campaign would take their revenue from point A to point B. We couldn't see the numbers. There was no forecasting, and that usually is an issue for a business because every business wants to grow their revenue. Secondly, the client probably felt talked at and not partnered with. Decisions were made in isolation and were just told to them after the fact. The agency would go along to do what they think that is right for the business without engaging the business or partnering with them or seeking what their opinion would be. And then lastly, somewhere along the way, they must have lost confidence in the numbers. Of course, reports were full, but clarity was missing. And then the business comes to say, we've tried agencies before. What this just means is that we paid for effort and we could not see any outcome or impact on our business. When we at Intense Group, when we hear these statements, we do not try to defend agencies because of course that is not even our cross to carry. But what we try to do is analyze and ask key questions that would change the course of this experience for the client. Number one, we would ask, what matters most to the leadership in terms of numbers and KPIs? When the things start feeling disconnected when you worked with this previous agency, and then we would ask, what were you hoping to change when you ran this campaign? And basically what this just does for us is that it gives us a clarity on what change will mean for them, what success will mean for them, and the kind of KPIs to set our business, because this is very important. What these questions do is that they change the conversation and move it from a place of blame to a place of design, because what we definitely know is that failed partnership usually doesn't start at the point of execution. It starts at the beginning of planning. So this is for brands and businesses. If you've tried agencies before and it didn't work, this is not for you to avoid partnership or agencies in general. What this means is that it is time to demand better clarity, better outcomes, better KPIs that are able to move your business forward. Good partnership never fail because efforts were not put into the campaign or the agencies were incompetent. They usually fail because expectations and outcomes were never aligned from the very beginning. So, this is to say that whenever you're dealing with an agency or talking to an agency, let the outcomes and expectations always be clear. At Intense, we usually like to draw out a map for our clients to let them know how this activity or marketing campaigns would impact their business in the long run in terms of revenue.